Welcome to the Endless Honeymoon Podcast. I'm Natasha Leggero.
I'm Moshe Kasher.
This is a very exciting day for me.
Yeah.
I'm
one of your heroes.
Extremely excited to interview our next guest. I think she probably said yes as a mistake. But yes, it's so exciting that we have her on. I'm so nervous. What I don't want to do is try to be one of those annoying people who's trying to be funny, you know.
Well, too late, honey, because that's your entire personality. I think you'll be
I
okay.
want her to talk. Well, here's the thing. We have Fran Lebowitz on today. I've listened to she's done a handful of podcasts, although she herself doesn't listen to podcasts. She doesn't even have a cell phone. She actually, we're calling her on a landline. So, but I really wanted to ask her a few questions that I wanted to know about her after kind of studying her so much. And if you're not familiar with Fran Lebowitz, please go on Netflix, watch her in the Martin Scorsese directed documentary called Pretend It's a City. Many years ago, she had another, I think that was also a documentary. I don't remember if it was a series or a movie, but that was also directed by old Marty, called Public Speaking. That one's hilarious.
Did I ever tell you about my Martin Scorsese time I performed in front of him?
No.
I was at the Comedy Store, and people, the door guy ran to the back and was just like, Martin Scorsese's in the audience, everybody. I mean, which is the worst thing you should tell a comedian.
Oh my God.
And I'm in the back.
All those desperate, sweaty comics.
And I was in the back. I was like, maybe I should do all kind of biographical materials, really compelling life story stuff. And then I was like, this is so dumb. So anyway, I went out on stage, and I gotta say, I fucking crushed it, and I was so happy because I murdered in front of him, and the door guy ran back. He was he was laughing, he loved every second of it. So I took this walk. The way the Comedy Store, the main room works, as you know, Natasha, as you come, there's different ways to walk out of the room. One is to just exit out the building so no one sees you. One is to go around the crowd, and one is to walk directly through the crowd. And the directly through the crowd path was right by Martin Scorsese's table. I wish I had video of me walking. I obviously chose to walk by his table, and I wish I had video of me walking by that table, because the slowness and pretending not to notice but looking over at the table to see if he would say anything of my walk probably was the most ridiculously performative thing you'd ever seen. I was walking in slow motion, kind of trying to make eye contact without making eye contact, and guess what he said as I walked by?
What?
What would your guess be?
Good job, kid.
Nothing. Not one thing did he say. He did not say a word. I walked right by, went to my car, drove back home.
How exhausting to be someone that men and women just walk by you like they want to fuck you all day long. Everyone's performative. No one's, I'm sure Fran is herself around him, but they're old friends, you know?
Right.
But if you haven't watched Pretend It's a City, I loved it. It was my favorite thing to do when we were in the woods was to escape from my family at 6 p.m. and check out and go into the trailer that we were kind of living in by myself and watch this documentary.
Yeah, this basically is her persona, and I was less familiar with her than you, and you got me to watch the documentary. Her persona is she's kind of been the coolest person in New York City for 50 years.
Well, she'll say whatever she thinks, and she definitely, I feel like she's a national treasure I know everyone always says that, but in the sense there's nobody like her.
Right. She's a consummate hater, but in the best way.
She said something that really made me, in Pretend It's a City, she's judging people is my job.
That is wild.
And that is also what I think as a comedian, or at least that used to be our job.
Right.
But she's also an author. She wrote Metropolitan Life. She wrote Social Studies. She really is. Now she kind of makes her money touring around doing speaking tours. I think that's what Oscar Wilde used to do too. She's really just this rare person that I can't believe we get to talk to her. And also, I don't want to be late. So can we please?
If I'm being honest, you're sounding a little sweaty right now. A little thirsty. It's it's a little much.
Well, it's in the day right now because she's in New York, so I can't even. Well, I guess I could have a little bit of wine or something to loosen up.
Yeah, for real. Because
I don't want to annoy her.
I know. If you sound like a Taylor Swift fan right now that's about to call OTS. T.S. Eliot.
Oh, I wonder what Fran thinks of Taylor Swift.
Oh, we should ask. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Natasha's hero, an American treasure, and the star of Pretend It's a City. It is
Fran Lebowitz.
Hello, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Fran.
I'm really sorry. The last thing went overtime. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. I said she seems like a punctual person, so maybe she
I'm
just.
very punctual.
We also thought it was
But the other guy wasn't.
We also thought it was 50-50 that you wouldn't call and would go take a walk through the park or something instead. So we're just happy you're here.
That would never happen. I'm very reliable.
Oh, good.
Fran, I'm so nervous to talk to you. So if my husband interjects a lot, don't think he's mansplaining. He just he's not as intimidated as I am.
Well, we have a question for you.
Yes.
Would you rather be having lunch right now with Martin Scorsese and Cornel West, or doing a podcast with two comedians that you're probably not familiar with?
Is that a real question?
Well,
No.
Nothing's really real for us.
We were just saying how happy we were that, well, not happy about COVID, but it does make people like you a little more available.
Yes, I would imagine more than a little. I'm trying to imagine. Cornell, I know him. So I'm trying to imagine Cornell and Marty having lunch together.
Well, we have kind of are the people who listen to this podcast are very young, and I love the fact that you don't have a cell phone. I hate cell phones. My husband and I, it's our main source of fighting. And I wanted you to just kind of, we're calling you on a landline. Can you tell us a little bit your philosophy behind it, or why you don't have one?
It's not really a philosophy. It's just that when they invented them, I thought, why would you want one of these things? And I haven't changed my mind. I mean, basically, this is not having a cell phone is something that angers everyone I know in regard to me. Like, I can't reach you, but how can I reach you? And I think you don't have to. I don't have to be available 24 hours a day. I'm not an emergency room doctor. I'm not providing an essential service to anyone.
What if somebody needs a quip at like 11:30 p.m.?
Well, then they'll have to call an emergency room doctor.
Wait, so Fran, do you have any advice? Like, I know you hate when random people on the streets have their cell phones, in front of their faces, but what do you do when you're out to lunch or you have someone over at your house and they're like staring at their phone? Like, what do you say to them?
I would never allow that.
Really?
How do you put a stop to it?
Put that away. I mean, if I'm having, first of all, you're talking about an era that, unfortunately we're not in at the moment. But when I'm in a restaurant or at a dinner party or something with people and they take their phones out, I point out to them that it's so immensely rude.
I like that. Immensely rude.
I mean, I see people doing it. I see people, as everyone does, all over the world, sitting across from each other at a restaurant table, both on their phones. I think, why bother?
And if they were out to eat with somebody else, they would be on their phones texting the person that they were ignoring at the current luncheon that they were in.
So, I mean, it's just the way that people communicate with each other now, but not me.
Well, my husband and I often get into a fight because we have a 3-year-old and he wants to get her an iPad, and I'm adamantly against getting her addicted like I am already.
Yeah, right now I'm seeing a future, Fran, where Natasha has adopted the phrase immensely rude, and it's the primary thing that she says to me from this point on. She says, remember Fran Lebowitz said.
I think 3-year-olds are a different category because these are the people who are actually going to do something with this stuff. Because even people who are vastly younger than me, which is almost everyone, but even people in their 20s might remember a time before this stuff, and certainly are, surrounded by people who do. But people who are 3 years old, they are completely, since birth, connected to this thing, and so they're going to stop talking about it and just do something with it.
Well, that's hopeful.
Oh, yeah, you're saying the negative effects will kind of fall away because they're not like junkies getting a tolerance built up. They're actually going to be built into the mainframe themselves, basically.
And they're also not going to be talking about it all the time. In other words, people talk about this all the time. They talk about the internet all the time. They talk about, the effect of it, the bad effect, the good effect. But, that's because it's new.
Right.
When they invented radio, no one could understand it. Now, I only know this because I'm not that old, but because if you read essays and things from the era of when radio was invented, apparently the newspapers were full of people trying to explain to people how this worked. People were so stunned that, they turned on this machine and people's voices came out of it. And there's a really hilarious essay by Robert Benchley, because apparently the way it was described, the radio waves or whatever they're called, was like throwing a rock into a pond. And he elaborates on this. It's very funny. So when inventions are new, people talk about the invention all the time.
Well, wait.
When they become really useful, I'm sorry?
Oh, no, go ahead.
When they become really useful, in other words, when people do really, great things with them, is when they stop thinking about the invention and just use it.
That's a very interesting point. And it makes me think, like, my husband just got a Tesla and we were driving in it. And I know you're kind of into cars. Like, would you drive a self-driving car?
Well, I wouldn't, because even though I know that self-driving cars can't be worse drivers than humans, because no one could be. Dogs probably are no worse drivers than humans. But I wouldn't, because it would make me feel nervous. And also because I don't really like new cars. I really like old cars. But I wonder how anyone even thought of it, because I've never heard anyone say, I wish my car would drive itself. Now, I have heard people say, including myself, I wish I had a driver. Different than a car that drives itself.
Fran, you would hate it so much. It's like driving inside of an iPhone, and then every 25 seconds you have to press a little button.
Just to acknowledge that you're there and not asleep, because it is tempting to take a nap, I have to tell you.
Then, to me, that's the kind of driving. I mean, with a driver, you don't have to keep pressing something.
Exactly.
I love that.
You just have to keep paying the driver. So, I would like to have a driver, as everyone in New York would like to have a driver. But the one thing I have been in these electric cars, and the one fantastic thing about them is how quiet they are.
Right.
Yeah, it is a new era. I do love the idea that you're saying that the original self-driving car was not a Tesla; it was a man named Mr. Tesla that you would pay.
Okay, so we're going to take a few questions, but I just wanted to ask you, because I know you talk about talent a lot and, people having it. Like, I know you also don't have kids, but what would you do if your kid was like a really bad singer?
Yeah. How would you impart your feelings on talent to someone you loved that had none?
Even if your kid was a bad singer and wanted to be a singer?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, Mommy, what do you think? Mommy Fran, what do you think of my voice?
Well, as long as it was just a child singing, around the house, it doesn't really matter. If it was someone older, seriously considering it as a career, I would point out that although there are some very successful singers who are very bad singers, you might not want to be that person.
Right. You talked about in the documentary Pretend It's a City that it's perfectly fine to be bad at something privately, but don't have the audacity to bring that badness into public.
Well, I mean, it's funny you mentioned singing, because I am maybe one of the worst singers in the world. Now, this does not stop me from enjoying. Everyone loves to sing. It's like some human thing. That's why people sing in the car. That's why they sing in the shower, because people love to sing. So loving to sing is forgivable because it's a human trait, apparently. But inflicting it on other people is not forgivable.
That's just sadism, right? That's not talent. It's just being sadistic.
Well, I mean, when I was in junior high school and we were practicing our graduation song, which is, by the way, the last school I graduated from, and there were 200 kids in my class, the music teacher, not himself a genius, I would like to point out, kept saying something's wrong. Well, there's more than something wrong, someone's singing really off key or something like that. And he went through every single kid. And after I sang the thing he asked me to sing, he yelled, "Leibowitz, mouth it."
Oh no, God, that's the worst story I've ever heard.
Oh my God, that seems like...
So that's how bad a singer I am.
Well, Natasha, you had the same thing. Didn't an art teacher pulled Natasha aside and said, maybe painting's not for you?
That's true. But I went to public school, and they also told me to not be a writer.
This was a public school. And when I was in school, teacher didn't pull you aside.
They humiliated you in front of the class.
Oh, Fran, that sounded like a compassionate story to you, that he had the sweetness to pull Natasha aside.
Yes, it did.
Okay, we have one more question before we go to our callers. You know so many luminaries. You've met so many towering figures. Charles Mingus, Toni Morrison, Andy Warhol. You said that Toni, I know, was the wisest person you've ever met. Who's the coolest person you've ever met, and what is cool, and does it matter?
I don't really. I mean, I can't really think off the top of my head who's the coolest person I ever met. And if I could, I wouldn't say, because then the other people who think they're immensely cool would be totally horrified. I don't know really what the definition of it would be, but I'll tell you what the definition of it is not. It is not simply being young. You know,
Thank you.
I know this because several years ago, a friend of mine, a man my age, did something like exceptionally ridiculous. And I said, why would you do that? And he said, well, because I want my son to think I'm cool. I said, well, I have very bad news for you. Your son isn't cool. He's just 17. That's not enough.
I'm so glad you're saying this because I think my husband really idolizes youth more than I do.
I don't know. I'm afraid of death, which is different, which is Judaism in a way.
Fran, did I make a mistake converting to Judaism?
I didn't make her do it, by the way. I just suggested it.
I don't. Other people's religious beliefs are of no interest to me.
Well, we think you're pretty cool, and we are very excited and thrilled that you agreed to do this, and we'd love to open it up to some of our callers. So why don't we go ahead and do a call?
Are you cool with that?
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to call Jess from Vancouver and see what her problem is.
Hello?
Hi, Jess. It's Natasha Leggero, Moshe Kasher, and we're on the line with the legendary Fran Lebowitz.
This is so sick.
Yes, we think. Fran, do you think it's sick as well?
I think it's well.
Jess, how can we help? What's going on? What's going on? Tell us your problem.
Okay. So my partner's part of this larger social group that he knows from college. It's a big group of guys. They come together, binge drink, party, get blackout drunk. They all work in the same industry. I'm a grandma at heart. Like, I don't really party. So, like, I usually, like, stay home. Obviously, during COVID, we haven't been seeing these guys. The problem is that there's, like, two dudes in this group that I really, really don't like. They're, like, really misogynistic. And, like, my partner gets really defensive about them and, like, gets really upset that I don't like them. And, you know, this has been such a great year for me because I haven't had to party or, like, see these dudes. And
so what's your question?
Well, it's just always been this point of contention in our relationship. And I asked him, like, are we going to be able to, like, let this relationship with these guys kind of fizzle out since we haven't had to see them for the last year? And, like, he's started to, like, understand where I'm coming from and why I'm so uncomfortable around them. And, like, he just gets really defensive and, like, shuts down whenever I bring it up. He'll be like, oh, so you're saying that I can't be friends with them anymore. Like, it's just like,
you want to know if it's okay to be friends with misogynistic people.
Or how do you get these people out of your life? Fran, what do you think? Have you ever dated someone or been friends with someone who, by association, has brought very annoying people into your life? And how do you deal with that?
Well, first of all, can't you just not go?
So I do not go, but, like, it sucks to, like, be at home and, like, my partner doesn't get home till, like, 5 a.m. and have that, like, you know, like, I kind of, like, he works, like, really long hours Monday to Friday, and, like, I kind of want to be with him when he's not working.
Can you give us an example of one of the misogynistic things that these guys do?
Yeah, so, like, last summer before COVID, so, like, 2019, we all went away for, like, a long weekend, and one of these dudes says to this girl, oh, I didn't recognize you last night when your hair was like that. And the boyfriend of the girl was like, oh yeah, she's not as hot when her hair's up.
Okay, got it. All right. So your boyfriend is friends with some awful people, and you need a strategy to get them out of your life. I have some thoughts. I would love to know what you think, Fran.
This is why I live alone. I can't tell you, this is foreign to me because I would never care about other people's friends. You know, I would say, you like these people, go see them by yourself. You know,
right.
You're talking about a kind of intimate relationship, that is out of the question for me, where I would have to deal with other people's horrible friends.
And,
Yeah.
And what do you think, Fran, of just like also saying when a guy says something like that, you know, like, can you just say something like, you know, that is immensely rude?
Yeah. What do you do when you're in public and you find someone just abhorrent to you?
Well, I mean, I would not deliberately, you know, socialize with people like this. You know, if someone, you know, also, I truthfully, in a social situation, I've never heard anyone say anything like this because I've never belonged to a fraternity.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like they're like a fraternity, and like it's so confusing because my partner is like so sensitive and like he understands like where I'm coming from when I talk to him about like how like bad it makes me feel to be around these guys, but like he's just not willing to like say that he's not going to spend time with them anymore because they all work in the same industry, and it like makes him really stressed out when I bring it up because like he doesn't want to say like I won't be their friend anymore.
I think I get it. I think the problem is that your boyfriend has started to evolve but has not become fully evolved yet. You say he's sensitive and yet he doesn't notice the pigs that he hangs out with. I think that your problem, he likes to drink with them until 5 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I think Fran's onto something. You either have to accept him as he is and not go to the frat party, or decide that you'd like actually somebody that's a little more mature in that kind of an intimate relationship.
Right. So I guess I just have to like, because like I do want to stay with him. Like we have a great relationship. It's just this like one kind of like point of contention that we can't seem to like talk about this.
When Moshe wants to hang out with his Burning Man friends, I always have something I really have to do at home. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess just be okay with the fact that like there's this, like, I just don't have to be involved with these dudes.
That's right, Fran? That's what you're saying.
Totally correct.
All right, Jess.
Okay, cool.
Thank you and good luck to you. We wish you well in the keg stands and binge drinking that your boyfriend does in the future.
Okay.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Fran, are you with us still?
I'm still here.
Okay. Do you have time to do one more?
I do.
Okay, great. We're going to now call Jennifer in Pittsburgh. On standby as we connect.
So glad you're not in a fraternity, Moshe.
Well, you know, the thing I was thinking about is that nostalgia is there's an immaturity to nostalgia, and that's what that guy still has.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi there, Jennifer.
Hi. Hi, Moshe. Hi, Natasha.
We also have a special guest. We're here with Fran Lebowitz.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Jennifer, how can we help you? What's going on?
Oh, my gosh. I really hope you guys can help me. So I run a family business with my wife and my brother.
Okay.
And my parents are still around, but they're very much in the background. And outside of work, my brother and my wife get along fine. But inside of work, they could not get along any worse.
Mm.
They have really different personality types. My wife's kind of like a Chelsea Handler type, like she's going to tell you when she's mad and why she's mad. And my brother completely hides from any kind of confrontation. And the problem is that they don't work on this at all. And so eventually there's a big blow up and a catastrophe. So I'm trying to figure out how I can help their relationship. Any advice that you guys might have on that?
How to facilitate conflict between two people you love that get along like oil and water when they work together. Any thoughts on that, Fran?
There's not any aspect of this that I've had any experience with at all. Okay, I have to tell you, I've never been in business. If I was, I could never be in business with anyone I'm even distantly related to. I mean, just the term family business is so fraught with tension that this seems to be. I'm certain there's a solution, but I really think I'm very unlikely to be the one to come up with it.
So you wouldn't do let's say a podcast with your wife where you take advice calls, for example?
That seems. I mean, you already know that works for you.
Barely.
But for me, I just couldn't do this. I mean, even just the word family is a problem.
You don't even like to be involved in a family unit, much less a family business.
That is correct. Or a business. Neither of these things am I very much involved in.
And they are both really, really hard, honestly. I don't know how we do it. It is super difficult. I love it, but I hate it at the same time.
So the question, I guess, is then how do you find, since they get along in the real world, but when it comes to work, how do you find strategies to mitigate the conflict between these two people you love? And I think like I guess my instinct is to find a way to be the calm in the storm.
And also to delegate, find out what the guy is good at and what your wife is good at and try to have them focus more on those things.
Another thing I was thinking is it sometimes helps to name the thing. Like it's clear that there's a pattern of conflict between these two people. So if you named the thing, like, you're doing the thing again, whatever the name of it is. I don't know. What kind of business is it? Do you want to say?
Yeah, it's heating, cooling, and plumbing.
Right. So you could say you're stopping up the plumbing.
Wait a minute. You know a plumber?
I know a plumber. I know some good ones.
Oh, you want to jump in now, do you, friend?
I've never talked to or met anyone who knows a plumber because in New York, no one knows a plumber. There are no plumbers here. So you have access to plumbers. I think you should be satisfied with that.
Well, honey, I think yes.
One of the things that's really funny is, you always hear about family business and like different generations. And my brother's the type of person, he's 10 years younger than me. And he'll just like disappear for 3 hours, not tell anybody where he's going, not answer the phone. And so like she has legitimate reason to be super irritated and super frustrated. But because he's my brother and I guess technically my business partner, there's really not that much that I can do. I feel like I can like give him a penalty. You know what I mean? So I'm just in a really bad spot.
I think you're.
Well, you could point. Sorry.
Go ahead, friend, please.
You could point out to her that she should at least be happy she's not his wife.
Yeah, fine.
A brother-in-law disappearing for 3 hours at a time is nothing compared to a husband who does.
There you go. Love it.
That's a great point, actually. It makes me think of what I was thinking this whole time, which is your job, whether you like it or not, because you made the mistake of being in a family business with the two people that you love that don't get along. Your job from now on, and you have to accept it, is to play referee. You just have to figure out a way to get in the middle and solve the problem so that you can get your business done. And I think it's by... Oh, yeah, Natasha.
I have one more bit of advice. When Moshe and I worked on a show together, we said as soon as we leave the set, we don't talk about it.
Right.
So that could also be a good rule you have in the house, which is like, honey, when we're outside of the heating and cooling office, we don't talk about it.
The moment we stop dealing with the immediate fascinating world of heating, cooling, and plumbing, we change the subject once we step over the threshold. And I think also just like I said, naming the thing. If you say this is your dynamic, you could give it a nickname. You could say you're stopping up the plumbing again, and then they would both know that they're engaged in the thing. And then you're golden.
I love that.
Okay, Jennifer, we have to go, but we hope that we could help you a little bit. Unless anyone has any parting words.
Yeah, Fran, any parting words?
Are you in New York with this plumbing business?
Unfortunately, we're in Pittsburgh, so
that's close enough.
Yeah, drive to New York. Fran needs a plumber.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Fran, can I ask you one more question before we let you go?
Sure.
Okay, New York is underwater. Where do you live?
Yeah, climate change changed everything. You have to move. Where are you going to go?
What do you mean? You mean the entire city is underwater?
Yeah, it's flooded.
She could maybe live really high up somewhere, like on the upper.
A penthouse in the Empire State is the only thing you have available to you. The whole city's underwater.
That doesn't sound bad. Even with it not being underwater.
Yeah, where would you go if you had to leave New York? What other city?
You mean in the United States?
No, it could be anywhere.
Anywhere in the world. What's the second coolest
city? If I
city?
didn't live in New York, I would live in Italy.
Yes, that is a good choice.
Anywhere specifically?
Anywhere in Italy.
Yeah.
Unlike the Italians, who only like their own part of Italy, I like all parts of Italy.
We love Italy too. Fran, we'd like to invite you to vacation with us in Italy, but we know you won't accept. So we just want to say thank you for coming on the show. And everybody watch Pretend It's a City on Netflix and get into the mind of Fran Lebowitz.
Yes, Fran, thank you so much. We've been listening to the Spotify. There's actually on Spotify, which is on your phone, it's an app. You can actually listen to the whole soundtrack. So that's actually one cool thing about technology. So we've been listening to all the music from the whole series in our home, and it's really fun and cool.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you again for doing it. We really loved talking to you. It was delightful, and I hope that it was fun for you too.
It was very delightful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Fran.
Fran Lebowitz,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Well, Tosh,
Yeah?
I thought that went swimmingly.
Yeah, it was good.
It was great.
I was just really nervous.
You didn't seem nervous, I'll tell you that. But you know, it's kind of cool to be able to have a platform where you're able to speak to like it's funny to be a comedian because the biggest comedian in the world could come. I mean, in a weird way, she is a comedian.
She's definitely a comedian. Also, she doesn't listen to podcasts, so we could say anything about her right now and she'll never hear it.
Okay, let's start talking shit. One thing I did not like about her. No, I thought it's funny who makes you nervous. You know, like I could meet any celebrity and feel like zero. But if I met like a big UFC fighter, I would be stammering. Or a big rapper.
What?
Or
Oh,
a gangster
God.
rapper, I'd be like, hello, sir. Like when I tried to interview Too Short on The Champs, my old podcast, I was so much more nervous than you and had so little less to say for like, I don't know, the first 15 minutes of the podcast because I was just like, I've been listening to you since I was like 8 years old. Like, how can I even be in a position where I'm interviewing you?
Well, the problem with comedians, too, is we're kind of like, when we get nervous, we just start talking. Like
true.
I have a memory of being in like second grade and raising my hand and standing up to talk and not knowing what I was going to say, just to say something.
Knowing you were going to say something.
Just like, okay, well, hopefully, I just remember the thought process of like, okay, something's about to come out of my mouth. I hope it's okay.
I used to, in fourth grade, write roast jokes about the other students in my fourth grade classroom.
Really?
And get up, and everybody loved it. They weren't mean, you know, but everybody loved it. And I would get up in front of the chalkboard and read these like stories about the different kids in class, but they were like fanciful, made up stories and make everybody laugh. And that led to, have I ever told you this story?
No.
This is a rough story. So I used to do that and everybody would laugh. And then the fourth grade teacher pulled me aside, and once again, a public school teacher pulling someone aside to tell them something, but this was to tell me I had greatness. He said he wanted me to write the school play. And
Because of your roast jokes of the class?
yes, he wanted me to write the play. So he paired me.
I feel like this is a brag.
No, wait till the end. It gets sad. He paired me with another student who was a straight A student. I was definitely not a straight A student, but I had the gift of gab. And the two of us were sequestered for the rest of the semester in like a little office where we were writing the school play. It was a Western called Westward Ho, about the
Great title.
about the migration from the East Coast, for the pioneers from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Wait,
of
can I tell you
California.
something really quickly?
Yeah.
The first pilot I wrote when I got to LA, Chip Pope and I wrote a show called Westward Ho, and I was like just a
A
prostitute.
prostitute, yeah. That's what this was about. That is such a weird coincidence because it was about.
That was not-
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a very. I really want to get my hands on it. Mr. Fong from Chabot Elementary School in Oakland, California. I need to find a way to find him because if he has a copy of this, I would just love to do a staged reading of it. But it was a period piece, and it was a musical as well. I remembered the one musical. The one song that we had was U2's "I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For," and I was also cast as the star
Of a musical?
of the musical Westward Ho.
You
that
don't
I
have
wrote.
that good of a voice.
Okay, honey. It was fourth grade. Anyway,
Well, I'm assuming you've only gotten better since fourth grade.
here's what happened. I was a unruly, unlawful child, and I had talent. That's why he asked me to do it, but he did not like me, Mr. Fong. He didn't personally care for me, which I could understand. No teacher ever did. And I was unruly, and he kept telling me to stop. And then one day, after writing the whole play, I was standing outside of my place in line talking, and Mr. Fong screamed at me, and he removed my casting. I was removed as the lead pioneer, and I was made Indian number 2.
I love that in your head it's because you were talking when really it's because he heard your voice. You're like, yeah, I don't know what happened. I was just in line doing a little networking outside of my play. I'm the writer. And he just, demoted me to Indian number 2.
Do you want to hear my lines? What Indian number 2's lines were? It was only one line.
Not if they're singing.
It wasn't singing.
Okay.
It was just, hello, we are friends. We are here to help you. I didn't understand about indigenous genocide and the ways in which the power structure of the United States and eminent domain has been nothing but a blight upon native peoples. At the time, all I understood was, we are friends. We're here to help you. Here, take these berries. That was my whole role.
Take these berries.
But I wrote it. So maybe we'll call this episode Take These Berries with Fran Lebowitz.
So, Moshe?
Yes, Natasha?
Thank you for indulging me. You really helped me be calm.
It wasn't an indulgence. I was delighted.
I did want to ask Fran for some mothering tips.
Oh, you should have. You want to call her back? She seems like she'd be cool with that.
We might have her phone number.
I think what she would probably say to you is, I have no interest in children and I have no idea how one would raise one.
Right, but she always says that in interviews that she was a fantastic daughter. So maybe her mom did something that she could share with us. Fuck!
Oh, well, maybe next time.
I want my kid to be like Fran Lebowitz.
Do you? She doesn't really talk to her family. And
yes, she does. She just does.
Oh, really? I thought she left the moment she turned 18 and never looked back.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean she doesn't talk to her family.
Sure, yeah, right.
She doesn't choose to live in the same city as them.
Well, Natasha, you have met one of your heroes, and does she remain your hero?
Of course.
There you go. They say don't meet your heroes because they won't remain your hero. But in this case, it worked out. And you know what? I also got to talk to one of my heroes today.
Who?
You. And you know what I love to do with my heroes?
What?
Even more than interview them?
Have sex with them?
Well, yeah, but you know what else I like to do with them?
What?
Listen to secrets.
Oh.
Would you like to listen to a few secrets?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Hey, this is the secret. So I'm kind of in an open relationship. At least the last time my boyfriend and I had this conversation, we ended up in an open relationship. He doesn't take advantage of it, but I have anyway. This dude that I hooked up with over the summer, who might be married. I'm still not really sure. We are driving to, we're meeting up halfway because he lives far away from me, and we're meeting up halfway and staying at an Airbnb, and we're going to take acid, and no one knows. Everyone's under the impression that I'm going on a road trip to visit my gal pal for a week, and I will be going to visit her, but before that, I'm doing a 2-day overnight with this guy that might be married, and hopefully he's as cool as I remember. Acid's one hell of a drug. So, all right, love the pod.
He's probably not as cool as you remember. But also, can I just say I have a little bit of a philosophy behind this? I don't know that you should be fucking in an open relationship married people. I feel
not in open relationships.
Right. I feel like that might be the first, before you get on a flight and buy the drugs, and rent the hotel room, I would really want to know, because he could have a wife, she could be vindictive, there could be kids involved, you could have kids. I don't know what's happening here. I think there's something about, I'm not in an open relationship. Have never been attracted to them. But I do feel like there should be some openness, and why don't you ask him if he's married? I think that's very important.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, that whatever this open relationship that this caller has, it seems like the perfect kind. Where there's lots of secrets. You're going on long trips. Nobody knows. There's drugs involved. The other end is in a committed relationship. This feels like exactly what the perfect open relationship, the textbook. It made me think, I'm being sarcastic. It made me think that it feels like, I would love our open relationship listeners to call in and tell me that I'm wrong here. But it does feel like often, not always, but often in an open relationship, there are two people there are two roles. There is the opener and the acceptor, right? There's the person that's I think we should open this up. And then there's a person that's I think I'll say yes because it's maybe I feel like the only way I could keep you around. It feels like she's the opener, and her husband, she's he doesn't take advantage of it. It's well, he probably doesn't want to take advantage of it. But I think you're right. You have the right opener. You have the right to have a sexual tryst with someone according to the rules of your relationship. But I think you're right, Natasha. You don't want to go into an open relationship and throw a detonated bomb into somebody else's closed relationship. That feels unclean.
Yeah, I would just try to get a little more information from this person. And if you think he's married, that means he is, or
Yeah.
at least in a committed relationship. So
I don't know that this ends.
it sounds
great.
fun.
And the other thing is, it does sound fun. A weekend tryst with acid.
I don't know though, but that's another thing. Acid is a drug that I think you would want, unless you do it all the time and you're just like an old pro. But I would want a chaperone or someone who
You'd
I
want
really trusted
You'd
to
want
kind of.
a guide, not
Yes.
somebody who you're not even sure is morally okay for you to be with in the first
I
place.
certainly wouldn't want to be at an extended stay America with a stranger in some city that I've never.
A married stranger.
A married stranger like that, and then where are you going to go? Like in that
Also-
hotel room?
Also, acid is not a sexy drug. And acid my experience with it is it's not like you're like horny. This has bad trip weekend written all over it.
But I would definitely try to get that information out of him.
Well, you clearly don't want it. The truth is she doesn't want it. She just wants to have a tawdry. This is as close as she will be able to get to having an affair on her husband because unfortunately she's in an open relationship, so the excitement has been turned down a little bit, but this is just wrong enough. The acid plus the married makes it almost like she's having an affair, and that's what's exciting for her.
Well, I hope you don't get poisoned by his wife.
Let's hear another secret.
Hi, Moshe and Natasha. I absolutely love your podcast. I've never called to leave a secret or ask for advice, and I realize the secret probably makes me a little lame. I'm a pretty square person. So I used to be a waitress at a big restaurant in New York that was part of a larger building. So we did not have access to change the heat or the cooling and change the temperature at all. But every shift, someone, usually a little old lady, would ask me to make it warmer because it was too cold. And I used to say, we can't do anything and tell them the truth, and they would just get frustrated and upset. And since I was busy and working for tips, I just started lying and saying, okay, yeah, we made it warmer. Do you feel better? And 9 times out of 10, they would say, oh yes, it's much warmer in here. So thank you. And it was almost like this interesting psychological experiment where if you just tell people that it's warmer, maybe they'll actually feel warmer. I don't know. But it made my life a lot easier when I just started lying to my guests. And I try not to lie. I'm a pretty honest person. So this is my secret that I did. Okay, thanks. Love your podcast. Bye.
I think this is a great segue into becoming a mother, becoming a wife.
Oh, because you're going to have to constantly come up with lies
Yeah.
for the greater good.
Yeah.
I agree. This is what you call a moral lie. This is a good lie. You were actually providing your customers a service because you had the truth you knew would hurt them. The lie you knew would literally make them warmer. It would provide to them what they wanted. So you were able to do a magic trick and make people warmer by simply lying. You brought positive energy into the world through your dishonesty. Feel no guilt. Even though it's a small secret, we think it's a good one.
And the fact that your secret is that small, and like that's something I would have done during my 25 years of waitressing and never have thought even twice about because I have so many worse things that I've done. So that's pretty great that this is as bad as it gets, that you had to call a hotline.
They say there's a saying that I love, which is honesty, when not coupled with compassion, is brutality. And I think that this is a case of that. The brutal truth was you couldn't turn the heat up.
Wait, but what if you have to tell someone honestly something terrible?
The point of that quote, I think, is to not be so slavish to the truth that you decide you have to tell everybody everything all of the time because
Right.
you are a person that doesn't tell lies. Sometimes you can hold your tongue, or sometimes you can tell a white lie when there is no consequence to it, and the truth would create great consequence for no positive reason. So anyway, there's a lot of that going on in our relationship. Just so you know, like a lot of things that I lie to you about constantly, and they're all for the greater good. So don't worry about it.
I know that's not true because unlike me, you're not even okay with white lies.
I'm not.
But you seem okay with this one.
I'm not I have been conditioned by years in 12-step meetings to be very nervous about dishonesty and lying. I generally do really, really try to avoid it. I'm probably like this caller, but I also understand that honesty is the best policy. It isn't the only one.
Well, if you want me to stop lying, you have to stop asking me how your ponytail looks.
Oh, ouch. Let's take another call. Let's take another secret.
Hey, Moshe. Hey, Natasha. I love the show, and I have a secret. Every time I masturbate, I get a towel to lay on, but I always choose my husband's towel to lay on instead of mine, and he has no idea.
That's hot.
That's the question, isn't it? Is it hot?
Of course.
Wait, no. Hear me out.
But if a man did that and he jizzed all over, if you masturbated on my monogram towels, I would be
Were you thinking about whether or not you should say jizzed again?
Yeah.
I could see it happening.
Well, I was
You're
trying to think
"I don't know if
cum
I'm a jizz."
is even more gross sounding. But if you came on my new monogram towels, I would be I get mad when you dry off with them.
It's funny you mentioned the cum jizz. I tweeted something yesterday. Because I got a blackmail email in my inbox yesterday.
Oh my God!
From some guy with a password that was an accurate old password. It was one of my old passwords, and it said it took me 2 minutes to find your password, and I did a two-way video of you watching porn and then your face on the video, and I will release it to all of your contacts if you don't pay me $6,842 in Bitcoin. It was this whole thing. And should I read the whole email?
I don't think you need to at this point.
Okay, anyway. And I made, first of all, thank God I'm a stand-up comedian. First of all, it's just a scam. It's bullshit. It's basically.
You sure, honey?
Yeah, I
don't want it to get all over town. Crossing your eyes while you come into the camera.
Yeah, you don't want to see my chin fall down like an escalator.
And this is why I have a piece of tape over one of my computers.
And I did always make fun of you for it, but now I'm kind of like, maybe tape is a good idea. But no, it's lucky that I'm a stand-up comedian, because if I wasn't a stand-up comedian, I didn't care about if a video like that. So, I wouldn't be happy, but it's not like it would ruin my career. If it's like Moshe looks at pornography sometimes, I think everybody would be like, we know, he talked about it on stage for 20 years. But basically what the scam is that they look into, there's like password dumps, there's big hacks of lots of different users, and they'll just be like, this email address has this password, and this was like a 5-year-old password. Then they just email you with the password to freak you out and demand money, and maybe 1 out of 100 people sends you the money, and that's enough money to make your scam workable. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I made a joke about it. I tweeted about it, and I said,
"Yes, don't antagonize this person."
There is no person.
You think it's like a bot?
Listen.
How did he know your password? That's the thing.
There's something called password dumps where they hack into a bunch of different email addresses. They find the password, and then you can buy like 50,000 passwords from 50,000 email addresses and just email them all, even though they've all changed their password. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. The point is, in the tweet, I tweeted, this person just blackmailed me for porn. Little did they know that my porn selection is one of the things I'm proudest of in the entire world. And if I play this right, you'll all be able to see a video of me busting to a man with in an ET costume with his penis glowing red. Whatever. Was it my finest work? No, it was not. That's neither here nor there. The point is, somebody in my comments was like, I hate when men describe their orgasms as busting a nut imagery or something like that. And then I started thinking, what is the best way for a man to describe the ejaculatory process? You don't like cum, you don't like jizz, you don't like bust a nut. What's the best? We should have asked Fran Lebowitz this question.
I'm really glad you didn't. I would have been so mad.
Well, she would have hung up.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. I was about to make during the plumbing, I was going to make a shit joke, like a plumbing shit joke. And I was like, I don't think she would like that either.
I feel like scatological humor is like, I used to be like this, but I've just kind of given in.
Wait, I just realized right now, Fran describes herself as a humorist, not a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between a humorist and a comedian. You don't like shit jokes. You don't like cum jokes. You're like, I'm funny, but not that kind of funny. I just finally figured it out. But wait, seriously, Natasha,
That's so funny.
what is the best way for a man to describe his orgasm? Have an orgasm? That seems so clinical.
I like bust because it's absurd.
Yeah, bust the nut. Well, Natasha, you've made me bust so many nuts over the years.
Oh my God.
It makes me realize one thing.
What?
I love you.
I love you too.